All right, moving right along. Next up, Eddie Joyce, Liberal MHA for, you name it, Eddie, what is it?
Bay of Islands.
Bay of Islands, yeah.
Beautiful Bay of Islands.
Beautiful Bay of Islands. Absolutely gorgeous Bay of Islands. And what other kind of bay could spawn a young man like yourself to come forward and represent them?
Well, I don't know. I was fortunate. I think that
I can feel the heat from your blush over the phone.
And it is true, yeah. Yeah. How are you doing, Pete, yourself?
I'm doing good.
Oh, good. Pete, I'm calling on again. Of course, it's a issue that I got hold of about 3 or 4 years ago, even when I wasn't elected, and since I got elected again, is the hospital in Corner Brook. At every avenue that I have had an opportunity, I brought up the hospital in Corner Brook, and I brought up again this week in the House of Assembly. And the reason why I'm doing it so much now and so loud is because as we speak, the new hospital is in the design stage for the construction of the hospital. As we speak, what's not in the design are two things that people want loud and clear in Western Newfoundland. One is the radiation unit, and one is a PET scanner. And Pete, I'll just go on the PET scanner for a few minutes here, and it's to the point now where I had to go back and correct the minister on the information that she's giving out, and anything that I say, I have documentation to back up, and I'm after getting it to whoever wanted it. And the reason why I say that, Pete, is in the question period this week, the minister stood up, Minister Sullivan stood up in the House when I said, look, you can transfer these isotopes, you can bring them from one location where they're made by a cyclotron to PET scanners. And then I brought up a situation in Saskatchewan. So the Minister of Education stood up and said, well, I have documentation here, and I'll table it, that they're not going to be using until 2016. The documentation got lost because it don't exist. That's why it got lost. I asked her to table it. It just got lost. It just don't exist. And I tell you why, Pete. The minister is saying that we can't transfer isotopes from St. John's to Corner Brook because they can't be transferred. They can't be brought out from where they're made to another site. Where are they made? Right now, they're not being offered in Newfoundland. There's 6 locations, I think 6 or 7 across Canada. They're going to build one in St. John's in 2015, the cyclotron and the PET scanner in St. John's. And with the new hospital in Corner Brook, what I'm saying, this is a hospital that won't be built for the next 7, 8 years. It's going to be a hospital for the next 50 or 60 years. The top-of-the-line technology right now is a PET scanner, and it's not going to be included in this hospital. And Pete, I gave the minister the University of Saskatchewan, and you can go on internet in the next break, look it up. The University of Saskatchewan started a PET scanner May of this year. They are shipping in isotopes from Hamilton, Ontario, 1,200 miles, 2,500 kilometers away, 3 times a week by Air Canada. And I said that to the minister. I gave Tom Marshall the documentation. I gave him the note that we have from the head of the cancer treatment center there, saying where we're getting them from. They're planning on building a cyclotron in 2016, so they don't have to transfer it in. And no matter what I say, no matter what I do, the minister is head bent. They're not going to build one in Corner Brook. Well, say it is entirely all budget driven, this decision not to put the PET scanner there. Yeah. Is that not a valid reason, given that the hospital is going to be costing a lot more than they ever thought? And I'm a little surprised that they're not adding any services to it than they have right now. But money is a real issue. Okay, Pete. And here's the second issue that I take total offense to by the minister. And I don't mind saying it because I'm to the point now where it's either you got to find some way to ensure that the information that herself and the partner's putting out is inaccurate, or I have to stand back and just take it and everybody's going to believe it. The minister stood up in the House twice this week, said it publicly, that cost for a PET scanner that they're putting in St. John's is $40 million. She said it publicly, is in Hansard, House of Assembly. She said it out in the media. That is totally false. It's totally inaccurate. The cost that she's referring to, and this is what she's putting out in the public, and I don't mean to be attacking Susan Sullivan, absolutely not, but I'm here to defend the people of Western Newfoundland. The cost she's talking about is to build a full cyclotron, full PET scanner, the full renovations that's needed to accommodate all this here, and that's the cost that she's putting out to the public. So people, and this is the prime example you're saying, so a PET scanner, if you bought a top-of-the-line PET scanner, top of the line, and then now I may be off by so much, but the information I'm getting for a good PET scanner top of the line, $2 million. And the information she's putting out to the public that is so expensive, but is not. $2
million, and then obviously installation after that.
No, okay, but say, Pete.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm not. Obviously, it's way, way, way below what she's suggesting. But
see,
even if it was $5 million, you'd think, well, that is more than worthwhile in a new facility like this that's serving so many people.
Okay, but Pete, here's my point. If we don't have it in the design stage of new hospital, it's going to cost a lot more to get it put in after. By the time you do the renovations. Sure. Now, I'm sure by the time the PET scanner, I would sure that it's going to cost more to insulate it because you need it in a room that's protected. I mean, if you're looking at $4 million, $5 million, that's the estimates I'm getting. But $3.6 to $4 million to set up the full gamut, the full thing. And Minister Sullivan, and you can check in Hansard, is saying it costs. And then I remember we went back the next day and we said, Minister, would you clarify this? She said, well, that's what the World Health Organization is saying. And you can go online yourself. Anybody can do the research. Anybody can call any organization that got a PET scanner. What the $40 million for, and this is how the minister is muggling the water, and people think it's always so expensive, is because they're building the cyclotron. Once we have the cyclotron built in St. John's, we don't need a second one. So
provided you can transfer the isotopes, it should be about 10% of what she's suggesting it might cost.
Oh, at least at 1/10. Yeah. No, but Pete, and this is the point, and you can go yourself now in between the break. Sherbrooke, Quebec, they bring isotopes to St. John, New Brunswick. That's where St. John, New Brunswick gets their isotopes for the PET scanner. So it's done. Now I'm not sure on this. I have the information up to be honest. I think there's 30 PET scanners in Canada. I'm not sure if there's 6 or 10 cyclotrons. Right. The rest are transferred, flown in. It's done on a regular basis. And then if anybody took the time to look up the University of Saskatchewan, look up the PET scanner, when it was announced, where they're getting their isotopes, it's 2,500 kilometers, over almost 4 times the distance from St. John's to Corner Brook. But the minister keeps on saying that it can't be done. It's done daily across Canada. And for me to listen to that information, I just can't do it. Now, people can make up their own mind if they're going to, and I think they will, because they realize it now, because the word is out in Corner Brook now, is that it's in the design stage and it's not in there, because everybody was saying, oh yes, take your time, it's all coming. And again, Tom Marshall, and then Tom Marshall stood in the House of Assembly and is all in Hansard. He said, no, we'll build on it later. My point is, let's not build on it later. Let's do it now while we got the opportunity, so it won't cost us much money. So we'll have the service, because we're looking at just 7 years down the road before it even opens. 8 years.
Okay.
MRI was the big thing 10 years ago.
Yep.
Now, PET scanner. So we're looking at 8 years. We're not even going to make it available in Corner Brook.
Okay. Well, listen, fair enough on that. I got to ask you one more thing before we say goodbye and I take my break. How many by-elections would you guesstimate we're going to have in the next 12 months?
Oh, I don't know. I say there's going to be a few. Yeah. I don't know.
Do you think? Well, obviously there's more than that to go before the next general election. But
8 or 10 before next election.
Yeah. Most in the next, do you think they would be most in the next year, though? Because people don't usually drop out just, months away from the general election.
I think what you're going to see 1 or 2, is my opinion now, and I have no basis on this. You're going to see 1 or 2 because I think they're just getting tired of it and for other reasons. But what you see is the last year, You see a lot of the ones aren't going to run, step aside, and let new people come into cabinet positions. That's when the true tale will come in. But I can tell you one thing: Tom Marshall and Lon Granter, if they don't soon step to the plate with this here, or prove the University of Saskatchewan, prove all the information that I'm getting, and I'm providing to Tom Marshall, by the way. I mean, I really feel Tom like to see this done, for whatever reason it's not happening, and to say, listen, what you're saying is inaccurate, but every bit of information that I'm after getting, I'm saying, here, Minister Marshall, we need you on the side with us. We need your support to help us do this. And I'm handing it to him, saying, look, here's the facts.
Okay, actually, before I let you go now, I got a couple of questions. This came in from Sandy Collins. He's sneaking in a few here on Twitter.
Sure.
He says, ask Eddie how many people would avail of the PET scan on the West Coast, and ask him about WHO standards of practice. He also wants you to explain the principles of half-life. Each isotope has a varied half-life, some minutes, some hours.
Yeah. First of all, the people that PET scanner right now is mainly for diagnosis of cancer, but there's a lot of others like Alzheimer's and others. In 7 to 8 years' time, it will be used on more. It's going to be used more for diagnosis, and every year it gets used for more and more different diseases that we have. So it will be used a lot. And if you asked any expert that's in the field, that it will become a daily tool to diagnose and treat diseases. Every new hospital built in Canada in the last number of years has a PET scanner. Every new one. Quebec.
Why is he asking about WHO standards of practice, the World Health Organization standards of practice?
I have no idea, because there was never. What is wrong with the Canadian standards of health? Why is there 10 in Quebec? Why is there places in Quebec with 45,000 people that got a PET scan? There's 10 in Quebec.
Yeah.
And Sandy, of course, Sandy likes doing a lot of talking on the Twitter, but he don't have, as I call it, the intestinal fortitude to stand up. What he's talking about half-life, and once again, this is another false thing that himself and the minister is putting on a regular basis. The isotopes for a PET scanner, what they call is a half-life. Up to 2 hours is what they call a half-life. So if you can get the isotopes within, say, the 2 hours, you would give the regular dose, say if it's 3 milligrams or 5 milligrams, inject the system. If you go past 2 hours, if it goes 4 hours, you'll give 6 milligrams. The same, you will have the same dosage, it's just a bit more. And that's so for the minister to say that the isotopes can't be used after 2 hours is absolutely false. I asked Sandy Collins if he has intestinal fortitude, which I know he don't, or guts, Newfoundland terms, to call in, ask him if it can't transfer from St. John's to Corner Brook, how come it's being transferred from Hamilton to University of Saskatchewan, used 3 times a week, flown in by Air Canada.
Okay, fair enough. Listen, I appreciate you answering those, and that's all the time we have. We have to go to break, but thanks again for the call, and hope to talk to you again before Christmas.
And Pete, with all due respect, if Stanley Collins like to say something, tell him to pick up the phone, be a man, pick up the phone, and come in and come out to Corner Brook and have a public meeting, which I asked the Minister of Health to do, have a public meeting. Let Stanley Collins come with the Minister. Guess what? He'll never show up.
Okay. Thanks again.
Thanks, Pete.
All right. Good night.